always talking about the battle of the exes. And today we're going to highlight Kawira. You all know her from Papa Shirandula. She's the bold babe who used to... You know Kawira from Papa Shirandula. Anyway, previously we had highlighted her divorce, or rather her separating from her husband. And we had told you how the husband was a pastor. And there was this pressure to be, you know, a pastor's wife and an upstanding wife, to be an example to the congregation. She was even a minister at the church. So, you know, her divorcing her husband was very frowned upon. And she went on to say that this is the only man she had ever been with. Okay? This pastor was the only man she had ever been with. So you can already identify how attached you would become to somebody. Because given our first experiences, okay, I don't want to recount my first experience. It was horrible. And this is what she's saying, because this husband was the one who took her virginity. And up to date, she is still very bitter about it. My first experience was horrible. I have told Kathomi this story and she laughed at me. But it was a very horrible experience simply because I really did not know what I was doing, okay? Except for videos I had seen on the internet, and I assumed that my sexual experience would be that. Very loud and very fulfilling. It was not it, okay? It was just, done. And sometimes we have this expectation and this romantic expectation of what is going to happen during our first, you know, sexual experience, our deflowering, our, I don't know, preview into being a woman. We all have these expectations, and unfortunately, they never come. Okay, for some people, it doesn't happen the way we wanted. For some people, those few stories, those outliers, they're those who had a very beautiful experience, and we're happy for you, but we're also very jealous. Get hit by a car or something. But Kawira seems to be part of the majority of us who had a very bad sexual experience. And she says her now ex-husband was the first person who ever had sex with her. And she says, I wish it was with somebody else and not that person. It was such a waste. I did holy matrimony for real. I never slept at his place, and I wish I did that. I was a virgin, he was violent, and yet he was a pastor. Nikisikia the word marriage, kichwa yangu inasikia baridi. Now please note that they have been broken up for close to 2 years now. 2 years later, she is still speaking about the experiences and the character development that she faced in that very holy marriage, okay? Very traumatic, you know, and it was in the public eye. Everyone knew about it. More so, it was a pastor, and there's just this whole responsibility of being a church woman and a pastor's wife and filling the shoes ya bibi a pastor. It was a lot. But she was also saying, Yani, the whole time they were dating, she never slept over at his house. And she is wishing that she did. And I actually agree with her, okay? Some people might frown upon this, especially our African parents. But I do believe it is very important to know a person deeply before you even commit to marriage. It is important to date all aspects of their life. You figure out how this person is when they're angry, when they're happy, when they're broke, when they have money. You figure out what goes on in his house behind closed doors, because you don't want to get married to a person and then you find out he leaves the socks on the floor all the time. It's Mama Wafua who comes, Mama Fua, not Mama Wafua. Wafua is a person. Mama Fua who comes and picks up socks every end of the week. You don't want to get married to a person and you find out they have this horrible behaviors that you did not know. Can you live with your boyfriend first? I advise, live with your boyfriend first. Figure out, am I going to stay, you know, in this situation for life? Or can I cut my losses before tufanye pre-wedding, tuombe watu pesa ya harusi, which I also frown upon, okay? Just figure out yourself. Know this person deeply before you commit to marriage with them.
I feel like these first experiences can be traumatizing, but at the same time can be such learning experiences. And I think my personal opinion with regard to virginity and losing your virginity and having your first experiences with one person and then ending up with the same person for the rest of your life, it can be such a love story for some people. It really can be. Like, they really check off all of your boxes, and as you're living your life, you're like, I made the best decision of my life. However, I think experience is very important.
True.
And I think we've shared this story before. I keep telling you the same thing so you're not feeling embarrassed like how I was embarrassed. I lost my virginity pretty late. I was 24 years old. And it was a personal choice. One, because in the beginning, I was a Christian girl raised in a Christian family, so I had Christian values, which told me that I need to stay a virgin until I was married. But after I realized that that was not the route for me, that I was actually maybe not so Christian a girl, and I shifted my belief system, then I realized, oh, wait, I don't have to wait for that. In addition, I thought that I wanted to get married to someone, but then I changed my mind as well. So there's so many changes that happen within your 20s, and all of these changes are supposed to be things that you experience in order for you to live a full life. I can honestly say I have personally lived a full life. Why? Because your ideas change. Your naivety becomes, unbeknownst to you, a source of a weakness that you need to get rid of. So you need to experience a lot more things in order for you to get rid of this naivety. This naivety where you got married to one man, you got pregnant the next week, and then now I'm sorry, you lost virginity last week, you got pregnant this week, and now you have to push a baby all of 4 kgs out of your betweeners, and you get postpartum depression almost immediately. I am so sorry, mom. I was a big child. So I feel like these experiences, based off of what then my mom would tell me, her experiences then forced me to force myself to experience life at its fullest, and genuinely, you may have that fairy tale relationship, but it might not actually be the same for everyone. So take your experiences for your own. Kawira's experience was toxic, horrible, but now look at her. Her experiences are molding what kind of person that she is now. You know what I mean? Yeah. So regardless, we all here on this show, we advocate for experimenting. Exactly. Experiment.
Imagine
figure out
you buy a toy. You buy a toy,
yeah,
and then as you're leaving the mall, you find out that there's a better version of that
toy. Or that
toy
is 50% off right in front at the shop at the beginning. But because you were so hasty to buy it over here for 1,000 shillings, you never got to see that, oh yeah, it's being sold at 200 shillings at the other shop.
Exactly.
You need to sample. I feel like sample. And Turi just told you, I feel like both our experiences, the first one, because I cancelled it because it was such a horrible experience. Genuinely,
it doesn't count.
I don't count it as my first. Very few people enjoy their first times, yeah? So why would you enjoy? Imagine finding out, let's just say you can't, you have to experiment. Please, you have to experiment. You have to make sure that you sample until you find what works for you, okay? Or at least mold this person into what you want. But you can't mold them unless you know what you want.